Hi, I'm Aurelie with Hubli. Welcome to our one-to-one interview series. Today, I'm being joined by Ben Park. He is Senior Director of Procurement and Travel at Parexel and also Chair of the Advisory Board for GBTA Europe. Together, we're going to talk about how travel and meetings managers can build their programs in an evolving workplace. Hi, Ben.
Hi, Aurelie. Nice to meet you.
Nice to see you again. It's been a while. I like to see that smile again. So Ben, as a first question, it's a very straightforward one. You are known in the industry as somebody that encourages innovation. So as a procurement leader, what is the biggest change that you see considering how the workplace and the concept of the office is currently changing?
First of all, putting that big pressure on me that I'm perceived as an innovator and leader. I will try to be giving a smart answer. So what I think is changing after the pandemic is the reasons why we go to the office and workplace. There will be a couple of people continuing the same as before, where they don't have space in their own apartment or house, so they must go to an office because they don't have an alternative. Then there will be job roles which require you to be in the office physically, like a doctor or whatever. But the vast majority of jobs have a choice, and people found out, actually, I'm productive, I don't need to commute. And so if they go to the office, they don't go to the office to attend a meeting like online or just work on emails. They go for collaboration and social reasons to go there to talk to colleagues and all this. So, and that's why the offices are currently, I think, not set up for this new purpose. So the biggest shift I'm seeing will be how to balance the new reasons to come to the office without having too much free space, which is expensive sitting around. And I think a lot of people in real estate are thinking about this now. Yeah.
I agree. This is something we see as well when we speak to some prospects or clients. Real estate is starting to be a stakeholder when it comes mostly when it comes to meetings, more than with travel. But having that in mind, when we say the office, is it really the company HQ, or can it be a different space? Do we need to review the definition of a meeting or a meeting venue?
Definitely. To me, the HQs mostly, I think, will get a lot smaller. But companies, I think, will look at more satellite offices. So you've got within 2-3 hours an office where you could go. But then the next big thing is that you just meet at some space where you rent something for a day, half a day. So like I'm using WeWork, but I don't want to promote the company, but everybody knows what I mean.
Many different providers.
So yeah. So this kind of style, I think this will come back because companies can't like rent all the space for using it only a couple of times a month. And that's why I think the kind of meetings will be a decentralized space. That it can be at a hotel when they've got a good space. It can be any office space which you can rent. So I think there will be a completely new industry coming up and way of looking at this, that you say a space can be at an airport, at a rail station, can be downtown, can be like just a university which has free space, or it can be the traditional office. And I think that's where real estate facilities and travel and meetings industry need to work together to say our job is to enable people to work from anywhere which suits them best. And so they don't need to know like our silos and pillars we have and then say, oh, for this time I go there, for this I go there. So I think we need to be the one entry to employees to tell them these are the 5-7 options to choose a workspace or a meeting space or a project space going forward. That doesn't exist at the moment.
It's true. Yeah, like it almost feels like it's a new decision matrix coming in, like the reason to travel, but also maybe more local travel than what we used to see, or domestic or regional rather than only international, if we're thinking about a dispersed workforce.
Yeah.
What about the budget, for example? Again, as a procurement leader, what's the major difference that you see in a pre-pandemic era versus today, where pretty much everything has changed and the rationale behind a meeting or a trip has changed?
Yeah, I think there's 3 things come to my mind. One is, first of all, the people are living in different places, so they're starting at different places. So your workforce might have moved a couple of hours outside of the big city. So all of a sudden they start from a very remote place to meet. So your city pairs have changed, your cost to get together has changed. And that's hard for everybody to predict at the moment. In the past was, people, mostly it's local commute, they meet somewhere. So the majority of cost was honestly the meeting, food and beverage. And now maybe transportation is your highest cost, who knows? The second thing is, of course, inflation, price increases, which are need to be considered. Third aspect is the high fluctuation of prices at the moment. If you see airfares going up and down, hotel prices by city, some are double, some stayed the same. So in terms of budget, it's really hard to predict at the moment how much budget do you need to conduct a meeting. And the other big aspect is, as you said, it's like in the past we had these annual meetings and all this, but now you've got these quarterly collaboration meetings. So you've got all these new types of meetings coming up. So from a budget perspective, I think next year will be really exciting, and basically now, because most budgets are decided now in the next, like October is usually in most companies the time. So I think now it would be really good to have the discussion. Like, don't take your 2019 budget and say, I'll go plus and minus from there. That will be fully wrong. Ask the questions, what kind of meetings do you want to do next year, which you didn't have last year or 2019? And what of these 2019 meetings can be skipped? And then try to predict basically the count on how many meetings by type you need. And then, okay, inflation, price increases, average airfares. So I'm thinking a lot of companies might be surprised next year when they see they reached like 75% of their meeting budget already in June, July. So we'll see. But it's definitely something where my recommendation is next year, take it quarter by quarter and go by looking at your budget against like actuals, and then make quick adjustments, because the biggest meeting time is usually the September, October. But if you're then already out of budget, you've got a challenge.
It makes me think of one thing. We used to talk a lot about the ROI of a trip. To know what's the ROI of a meeting, because again, the definition changes because we work in a more dispersed context,
Yes,
I would say. So yeah, how to balance those costs, thinking about real estate. What we tend to see as well, it's some companies reducing the size of their office, and partially then opening up for the opportunity to book spaces outside of the headquarter, even if it's in the same neighborhood. But this is something we see a lot, to try to balance the cost, and it comes under a different budget because this is led by real estate then. Fantastic.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I just want to say that, long term, yes, I think companies will cut on their like static facility real estate costs, but most lease agreements are 5, 10 or longer. So you can't cut that quickly, the cost down. So next year, companies might have kind of double cost for like the new spaces where people want to meet, plus their old office space. But long term, yes, I think there will be a shift from basically using part of the facilities or real estate budget for meeting space. In terms of ROI, I'm thinking about this all the time, but at the end, to me, it's more a questionnaire which should decide on this, where basically how long have you not been able to meet this group
Yeah.
in person?
Yeah,
When
what's
was
the
your last
value it meets in
interaction?
person? Mm.
Correct. And so more, it's more social questions, less than like financial. And also ask your question like, basically, what is the output of this group? Do they need to interact and trust each other a lot in their jobs? And so it's more like a you need to be a psychologist to develop these questions. But to me, the ROI would be kind of a questionnaire on basically how often do you meet in person? When was your last meeting, your last personal interaction? And what are the challenges in the team and the department at the moment? And these answers will tell you if there is a good rationale to meet in person. So I think it's less financial ROI than more kind of these HR questions, which I think travel managers should work on saying, we give you advices on questions you should ask. And if the answers are this and this, then maybe a live meeting or in-person collaboration meeting is really beneficial.
I love that, because it's not only pure business driven, but it's also social driven in terms of team bonding to resulting in better collaborations after that. We had that chat with Chase Warrington in one of our interviews as head of remote. He was actually designing a full rationale when they plan their company offsites, because they're 100% virtual business. Actually, they don't have any office. And it's quite fascinating to see the results that they get. He shares on a regular basis, what they're experimenting.
Yeah, I mean, what I was reading about a big bank out of London who's now offering in Spain, I think it was Malaga or so, like its own space where people can work during the summer, basically as like an idea to do collaboration there, to also have people working at different places in Europe. I found this idea like fascinating, that companies are just thinking about, okay, what can we do for them? How can we support them? How can we as well get them together? So I think there is a lot to come. Yeah.
Absolutely, leads them to even have their own inventory sometimes, because they even own those places. So it leads to many questions on how you can even enhance some booking tools to maybe even integrate their own spaces inside those tools. To end this, Ben, what piece of advice would you share for a peer that is currently trying to figure out their travel and meeting strategy?
It always depends on where your program is, but my general advice is, if you look at travel, meetings, and let me add the real estate, like the office, a little bit to this. So you've got like 3 pillars in the future. And my advice is that don't try to assume it works the same way. In the transient travel world, most of us implemented an online booking tool, and we've got leverage. It doesn't matter if there is one transaction or 1,000 or 10,000 in the online booking tool. The online booking tool is awake anyway. So you don't need necessarily a lot more labor work if your volume increases.
Okay.
But on meetings, everything is individual, case by case, still unfortunately requires a lot of labor time, because these like on-demand meeting spaces are kind of the exception still. And so one of my advices is like the meetings business is so individual and so labor intensive, and has these peaks, like usually the September is like the high season, and then you've got like some months where it's really slow, and so you don't require this labor work. And I think finding the right balance to say, like, it's almost 2 different departments which require 2 different strategies and 2 different sets of labor assigned to this. That's kind of my requirement. So don't assume meetings is like transient travel, where you can say, I'll just implement technology and then I don't need to worry about it. At the moment, there's technology coming, but at the moment it's so different. So that's why, yeah, be cautious about like doing this like one size fits all approach.
Like that. Maybe there are solutions, obviously, to try to digitalize this full RFP process and try to automate as much as possible until you shortlist venues and come to a contract.
It would be so cool to even get, like, instead of the hotels now, like meeting spaces, so that you can say you can book your rental car, your flight, your train, your hotel, but you can also book your meeting space online in the same tool as a first step. So I think the industry is desperate for this. Yeah.
Good to know. Point noted. I will speak to our product team.
I assume it's done yesterday. Good.
Thank you very much, Ben, for your time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you as well.
Thank you for joining our one-to-one interview series. Subscribe to our channel to get more insights on how the new way we work is impacting business travel and meetings. Until next time.